question is, who are you? Who are you individually and who are you together?
Individually, I'll go first. Individually, first of all, I am a Christian. I am a mother. I am a grandmother. I have a number of roles that I have. I am a quiet woman of God and easy to get to know and get along with. And together, I think we are a dynamic couple.
Nope.
That's me.
Oh, that's you. Me, I'm a father, grandfather, a great grandfather too. She forgot to say that. I'm a deacon at the church. I love to study the Bible. I'm a morning person. I get up and take my walks every morning. You know, that's my time with the Lord. And you know, I'm a kind of a person that never meet a stranger. So that way, you know, I'm pretty easy to meet and to, you know, to get to know. Because I wouldn't say I'm an outgoing person, but I just don't be a stranger. I can talk to anyone, have a conversation with anyone about anything.
I love that. I love it. Both of you all mentioned being people that are easy to get along with, easy to meet other people. And that is such a beautiful thing. So tell us, how did you meet? We want his version and her version.
My version, my brother, she go with her mother. We lived in Wisconsin, and she's from Iowa, Sioux City, Iowa. And our brother lived over there. And about 3 or 4 of us brothers got together. We was going over there to see him because we hadn't seen him in a year or so. We went over there to see him, and when we got there, his daughter's mother said she gonna give us a party, you know, just something, you know, give us a little party or something, just have a little gathering. And so that's how I met her, you know. Her mom gave a party for us. About 2 or 3 of us brothers was over there, but my brother was going to with her mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, PT basically told you it was, I think it was back 1975. And that was the first time that I met him. My first impression of him, I mean, he had this radiant smile, and that's when I thought, oh, he's got a nice smile. That was my first impression, that he was a nice guy and he had a great smile. What was your first impression of me?
When I first met her, she was nice looking. She was built nice. And, you know, I said, I just like to get to know her, you know. And things just went from there. And then we started seeing each other, you know, and she would come to Wisconsin every night, and I would come to Iowa, you know, and stay with my brother for a few days or so when I was off work, and everything just blossomed from there.
Okay, he said she was built nice.
Yeah, that's what attracted me.
Okay. So Sister Ramsey, what attracted you?
It really was probably the smile and the person, you know, because Elsie's a personable person, very charismatic, very personable. And that's what attracted me to him, was that he, you know, he had a huge smile, and it kind of lit up the room. So that's what attracted me. You know, I wasn't so much into you know, built nice or whatever else. It was more personality for me. Yeah, something on your face.
Okay, I love it. I love it. Okay, so you all tell us then how did you get to this point of okay, this is the one we need to get married. How did you get there?
Uh, we were going together for, we were seeing each other back and forth for a year or 2 years.
Couple of years.
A couple of years. She would come up there every now and then. I'd come to Sioux City, and I said, "Well, you know, we want us to move together, you know." And so she moved to Wisconsin, and we stayed together for about a year. And after that, we got married.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we talked on the phone, and at, you know, back then, you know, you had the phone companies charged you by, you know, it was long distance and all that. So we talked on the phone, had, you know, number of time on the phone. We like he said, we came back and forth from Sioux. He'd come to Sioux City once in a while. I'd go to Wisconsin, and we'd stay on the phone forever, and got to know each other. Spent a couple years together, and then this was yeah, it was back in, we dated for about 2 years back at long distance. And then I moved to Wisconsin in 77.
I remember those marathon phone calls. We'd be on the phone too, sometimes an hour to 3 hours.
And have those astronomical phone bills.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about that.
So it sounds like you all are experts on the long distance dating. So give us some advice about what to do when you are long distance dating. Just go take us back to those good old years with those marathon phone calls.
Well, actually, for me, it was, you know, I really got to know him a little bit better. You know, the phone calls and, you know, the late night calls, the early morning calls, you know, dating long distance is difficult. And, you know, you have to really care a little bit about each other in order to, in my opinion, to successfully date long distance, because there's so many other things going on, that distractions and you know, we were, you know, I was in my early 20s, and you know, you know, my feelings at that point was, oh, you know, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it was, you know, it kept me, you know, I was interested. So, you know, we got to know each other a little bit better, and the visits and the phone calls, it you know, just kind of grew from there.
And you know, you when you're on a long distance, you're dating a long distance, the time that you be together is very important, you know, and you kind of cherish that. And that sometimes that can be a help, and it can also be a hurt too, you know, be a bad situation too. But it helps because you be so glad to see her, you know, and you spend the time. You know, when I go, you know, I go like on weekends or something after work, because I worked. We both worked, and so I go down there like on a Friday, say, and I had to come back Sunday or something like that. And every now and then I take a day or two off work, stay a couple of days extra. So you know, you may use the time wisely, and you spend it together as much as possible, you know. And but it grew from that. But long distance dating also can tell you about. It can tell you a lot about yourself and about whether you can make it or not in a relationship or not too.
Ooh,
And
brother.
like she said, there's all these distractions. You're there. You got friends there, and people dating. There's just that part too that pulls at you. So you got to think. You got to care a little bit about them in order to for it to work out and to grow to get towards that your marriage gets to a marriage.
Okay, that's good. Okay, well, I have two questions for you all. Number one, were you all members of the church when you started dating?
No.
Okay.
I was from Pentecostal. My brother is a minister. My brother was a minister, so I was bred and raised in the Pentecostal.
And I was not a member. We became members of the church in 2000. And after we had been married about a little over 20 years, that's when we became members of the church.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that sounds like a testimony too. But I want to go back to what you said. And someone, thank you, Kayla, put it in the chat. Brother Ramsey, you said long distance can tell you a lot about yourself. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that? Like, what are some of the things that you learned about yourself when you're long distance dating?
Well, that tells you in a way too that whether you can be truthful to a person or not. She like what 800, 600, 700, 800 miles away. Pretty easy for me to do what I want to do. And you care enough about them not to do that. That says a lot. Now, does that make it perfect? No. Temptation that's a hard thing.
That's real. So tell us, when you are dating long distance, what are some ways to avoid temptation?
Do long distance phone calls, talk to them, and don't see them as often as you can.
It's a closeness that you have to develop amongst yourselves, and a trust and talk about it. It's because it really is real. So you really need to talk about it and then get to a point where you trust that whoever you're with, they're not still running the streets or being in other relationships.
And then you gotta figure out is this going to work, and how long can this sustain itself? Because you gotta see whether you're gonna get together or not.
So can you tell us what happened that made you say, okay, no, this is serious. This is the one for me. I need to marry them.
I had met her. She was a different person. She was quiet and easygoing, and she took care of her kids real well. Took care of the kids real well. She didn't, and she didn't want to run the street. She didn't want to go to the club. She wasn't clubbing and all that stuff, and those was one of the things I was looking for to get away from. That was one of my issues, my problem, mine was running the street, being in the clubs, running the clubs and doing different stuff. And I was looking for someone that could help me or take me away from that. Someone I had enough trust in. I hadn't met that one yet. I was about 25. I probably about 27. I met my mid-20s to 30. I was about 27, 28 years old.
So, Sister Ramsey, you had children at this time.
Yes.
Ooh, this is good. Okay, so tell us what it's like dating long distance as a single mom. Like, what were some of the things that you experienced or that you had to think about?
Well, number one, you're always leery about who you're bringing around your children. You're always, because of, um, because you don't know people all the time and know their motives and know who they are. It's important that before you even bring them or introduce them to your somebody that you're dating, that they that they're okay. And then once they did, they did meet him, it was, okay, how are they, are they comfortable with him, or is he comfortable with them? Because he also had children. So it was a matter of, he had children and I had children, and we never had any children together, but he had children and I had children when we got together. So it was a matter of, for me, making sure that, he was okay to be around my kids first, first and foremost. And then once I introduced them to him.
It was perfect match. It fitted like a glove. They was young too. I think Tracy was about 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they was young.
That's beautiful. So, Brother Ramsey, I'm sorry, I gotta stick to this point just a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
with coming into this family, and how did you show that your love to the children, and how did you develop that relationship with the children?
Honest to God, treat them just like they mine. Never hesitated. I never saw them no other way.
It's okay. I'm about to shout over here. Yes. Because we do have some moms. We have some mamas in this house right now, in this place right now. And a major thing is we want people in our lives who love the children in our lives the same way that we do. And so this is just really encouraging to hear, you know. Yeah.
But you have to make it clear from the beginning that you are a package deal.
Yes.
If you are, when I first met him, he didn't know that I had kids. He didn't know anything about. But when I explained to him that I had kids, and we are a package, a package deal, and especially when I made the decision, or was trying to decide if I was going to move to Wisconsin. He had to know that, okay, it's just like you're coming to get me and 2 kids.
And I'll add on to that, to say it's important that you get him, if it's a single mom, it's important that you get him around that kid as soon as possible so you can see how his reaction. And that's the most important thing you need to notice. You can have your little love and your Google eye and all that stuff, but the most important thing is how he's gonna react around that kid.
That's good right there. Oh, that's good right there. Okay, so tell us, what were some expectations that you had before marriage? And how have those expectations changed now? Expectations for yourself, expectations for your partner, the way you thought things were gonna go, and then how what you know now.
One of the things we were, we, and I'll speak to, because from the beginning, one of the things I struggled with was my expectations of him. When I was growing up, my parents, and one of the things at dinner time, we sat down as a family and everybody ate together. Well, he wasn't used to that, and he was used to just coming in whenever he got ready, get him a plate and sit in front of the TV or be gone. And it really, I struggled with that for so long, because one of the things I struggled with, because it wasn't even something that in my mind, that we needed to talk about. This is what we do. We are a family, we sit down, we eat together, and that's the way that it is. And he didn't understand, after I finally talked to him, what are you doing? And he didn't understand my perception, because we were culturally raised different ways.
And the most important thing that you're gonna make it in any kind of way in a relationship or a marriage is communication. I'm not gonna be able to, and I tell her that when we had to go through some business stuff, I can't read your mind. You have to tell me, help me along, tell me, what some expectations and the things that you expect in a way, certain way you expect these things. That's the key to a marriage, is communication. That's key to anything that she does. You got to communicate. If you don't, want to be going north, the other be going south. That's not gonna work. My expectation was out of her that that she didn't. We could do things, be together, and she didn't. Run the streets, be a heavy drinker. And different stuff. And she met all her expectations. So really, I guess I was blessed. I kind of found what I was looking for. But that one key thing is to communicate. Because I told her, and I said, I don't drink. Okay, and I told her, I said, okay, it's okay to have a drink, socialize. But, people out there they're not gonna stop, they get drunk. I said, nothing wrong with having a drink or something. That's okay. But and we doing drugs and stuff. I never did that. So those were some things. That was my expectation. Those were some things that she didn't do. She didn't get drunk. We didn't do drugs. I'm blessed.
I hear you. You said I was blessed, but that communication piece, I love that you brought that out. I love that. So tell me, how do you all cope during challenges in your marriage and with, thinking about, am I going to stay? Am I going to walk away? But how do you all cope with the challenges in marriage?
Well, a lot of, how do we challenge? How do we do with it? I depend on God to help me a lot. We struggle more so than before I became a Christian. We struggle more so, and that's the best thing. That's the best thing could happen for us to become a member of the church and put God in our lives. We go through things. I'm here for the duration. So when we're going through some stuff, we just had to sit down and talk about it and try to see a way out of it. And you just because a little wind come up, a windstorm or something come up, the bad weather, you don't walk away. And if you survive the storm, you'll come out at the end of the storm. You're gonna have the ups and downs. There's gonna be highs and lows, valleys and peaks, but you got to weather them all, be thankful for when you're married to long, you're getting along, and you have some longevity in your marriage. Be thankful that that you can get along like that. We spend a lot of time together. We've been married 42 years. We still spend a lot of time together. We don't do much, don't go too much nowhere. We don't go nowhere. We really don't out of town without each other, unless there's an emergency or family or something. We still spend a lot of time together. We still enjoy each other. Well, I still enjoy her. I speak for myself.
Yeah, the only time that I mean, we really went through difficult times when all the kids left home.
I did.
And yeah, you did. And that was the almost a turning point to our relationship. It's because we struggled, and when I finally sat down with them and I said, I think we need to look for a church home, because if we don't have put God as the center of our life, we're not going to make it. I feel like I'm at the top of the hill with the snowball, and we're rolling down the hill, and I don't know that we're going to make it if we don't do something different. So we went for 6 months, 8 months or so, we went visiting different churches to see, where we fit in. And I needed to figure out who was where we felt the most comfortable, and where who stayed close to the Bible instead of other traditions that they had come up with. And that's when we decided to attend the Church of Christ in Racine. And they came out, and the minister and one of the brothers, I think they did Bible study for 2 or 3 months before we were baptized and became a member of the church. So that was one of the things that kept us together, was putting God in the middle of our lives.
And I'll say, I teach too at the church. I teach Bible class. And I tell them, and I've said before, if I didn't get to know God, if I haven't accepted God in my life, Christ in our lives, I don't believe we'd be married today. So it's very important that, you need a higher source to help you through this, because it's a long road. And again, there's those peaks, and there's those highs, and there's those lows,
See, my position from the beginning was, when we did get married, that, okay, I made a promise to God when we got married, so I was really putting in 110%. And
I wouldn't. I'll be honest, I wouldn't.
And so I was going to do all that I could to get us to stay together, and that's why we ended up where we are. But it wasn't when we got to the point where I said, well, we're not going to make it if we don't have God in the center of our lives. So we have to find a church home. And we were baptized, became members of the church, and it's gotten better since then, 100% better.
I'm not going to take nothing from God, because He's the one who keep us and had us keep us together. But besides Christ holding us together, she's the backbone of the marriage.
Why do you say that, Brother Ramsey? Why do you say she's the backbone of this marriage?
I didn't see it that way when we first got married. I'm a type of person, one of my struggles in life was, you don't get close to me. No, now you can be friendly. I can talk to you and all that kind of stuff, but I have this wall up. Keep from me getting hurt. So you only gonna get so close to me. It takes me sometimes, and she's the one who helped me. She's the one who helped tear that wall down. So our marriage could get closer. So I could get closer to her. I could, so I know I could trust her. So and this is after we had got married. It took some time for me. It took some time for me to get comfortable enough to put up 100% of me into it, and to put 100% of my trust into the marriage. And those were some of the things that I struggled with. But as we went on and it would grow, it came closer. Again, thanks be God, I don't want to take nothing from the good Lord. I understand He's defined, He's going to did this. But along on the way, I got to know her. She became my friend, and I fell in love with her. Was I in love with her when I got married? I don't think so. I cared a lot about her. She's like I like, and I loved her qualities. Because to me, I'm not going to meet you, and say, oh, to me, that's one of the most abusive words that there is. I love you. Simple movement, simple things, just moving of the tongue. When you can get there, you can say, you can do it. When you show your love, love is, to me, is an action. It's things that you're going to do. How do I love her? By being true to her. How do I love her? By doing the things to make her happy, to make our home happy, to keep our marriage together. And then a lot of people say, it's like you said something. I tell them in a minute. I don't have to tell her I love them. She'll see it every day. But then they tell me she want to hear that too, so I tell her I love her too. I think it's more important for me to show her than it is for me to tell her.
That's good. Sister Ramsey, we got to hear from you. Sister Ramsey, what was it like tearing these walls down?
It was, and I knew this about him. He never had to tell me that, but I had, later on we've talked about it, and I would say, that's why, I always went the extra mile to make sure that you didn't feel like, you didn't I would do something that would hurt you because, I knew that his feelings were fragile. And so, it's just the truth. And most men aren't going to tell you that, oh, I'm fragile, be careful with my feelings. They're not going to tell you that. We as women, we have to be intuitive enough to pick up and say, okay, am I willing to? I know it's going to take a lot for him to, because he's been hurt in the past, so he's fragile, and I'm going to have to do a little bit more work in order to make him happy. And because he says, well, he didn't think that he was in love when we first got married. I told him, I said, I loved you when I got married, so I was willing to put forth that extra effort because I did love him. But we have to, sometimes, we as women, well, I'm not going to do all that. Or, oh, he thinks that I'm going to do all that and he's not doing that for me. It was a chance that I was willing to take because I cared about him and I loved him.
Sister, goodness, Y'all are preaching up in here. When you said that sometimes we as women have to understand that we got to put in some work when these men have been hurt, right? And because we love them. This is so, thank you so much for that. Thank you. Brother Ramsey, what did it mean for you to see her putting in this kind of work over time? Did it heal some things from the past? Did it make you feel hopeful? Where were you coming from when she was loving you like this?
Yes, it did. That's why we're still together today. They tore all the wall down, and that's what you know. Then I can let her in. I can let her, have all of me. I can give all of me. I can give the same amount that she does. I bet you now I get more than she does. Sometimes it's not gonna always be the same, 50-50 deal. Some have to carry that load every now and then. That's a part of marriage, Some might be dragging along. You might have to get that load. You might have to take it by the hand. You might have to pick it up, put it over your shoulder, and carry it. She carried me for a while. I can by myself, I'm gonna carry her for a while now. Because it's she took all those things down for me. She helped me to really love her, and I tell her, some people live a whole lifetime and don't never experience what true love is. And it's just unbelievable. There's nothing about there's just a life, and it's peaceful and enjoyable, and then you can love someone that much, that I never experienced before. And then so that's why I love her so, because she helped me to become the man that I am, That's a good woman. And I hope I can help her to enjoy life, and don't have to worry about life or what about this or what about that. We just enjoy life, peaceful. Yeah, she helped me to be the man that I am.
Ooh, my goodness. Okay. Ooh, what you all are sharing here is just so powerful, because I tell you, folks in my generation, we say things like, he better he better come ready, and he better be loving me like this and like that, and I'm not going to tolerate this and that.
Yes,
But
ma'am. That's what happens.
Yes. Don't. You're not coming ready. You're not gonna get a package deal that's fully developed. That's at 100. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. You got to work on it. And as well as we're doing, as long as we've been together, we still have to work on it. We still have to work on it. That never come a time you can take your marriage or your relationship, put it on the shelf, say it's good now. I got it good. I can just let it sit up there on that shelf. It's gonna lay on itself. It's work. It's always got to be done. So remember, whatever you're gonna have in life, whatever kind of marriage or relationship you're gonna have, you got to work at it. There's gonna have to be some work put in. And it's not always gonna be you're gonna get that much return in.
And after a while, it doesn't even seem like work, because it's just it just seems like, okay, this is just what I do. This is just who I am. And
you're enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
You reap the benefits. Now, all of that struggle, a lot of the struggles, not that we have anything perfect. We're never gonna be perfect. Never gonna be. But all the struggles and trials we went through now, we kind of reaping some of the benefits. But now, let me tell you, it's not always was a sunshine every day. There was some cloudy and rainy and some stormy days.
And now when he gets mad, I just tell him, okay, go back in that back bedroom and sleep back there till you get unmad.
All right, we tell him in a minute, you ain't going nowhere. You mad? Go back in that spare bedroom, sleep it off, and come on back in. We joke with each other that way now, because we know we're not going nowhere. I'm good.
that's beautiful. So how many years have you all been married?
42.
42 or 43?
42 would be 42 next year.
Beautiful. And how many children?
5.
And grandchildren?
Oh, Lord. 11. 11.
11 grandchildren.
Oh man.
And about 7 great grandkids.
Oh my goodness. Oh, how the Lord has blessed you all.
Yes,
This
he
is
has.
beautiful. This is beautiful, you all.
43 years.
She said 43 years.
Yeah, it's 43.
Okay. Wow. Wow. So tell us a little bit about trust and boundaries in a godly marriage. How have you protected the trust and the boundaries, whether that be within your marriage or keeping certain people out of your marriage in terms of speaking into things or trying to get between you two?
Well, I have a motto. And my motto, and I tell Elsie this all the time, I think it's my responsibility to set boundaries with other people. And if somebody crosses that boundary, then it's my responsibility to make sure that they know, you've crossed the boundary and it ain't going on. And I said, if I need you, I will I usually will tell them about the boundary, whatever they've done. But I said, if I need you, then, I will, to handle it, I will let you know. I said, but, I think that it's up to me to let everybody else know what the boundaries are. If they've crossed a boundary with me or disrespected me. But I am not the, as a deacon, people will come to him and, sometimes we women can be really messy. And we can do things that we know are not appropriate, but we do them anyway. But anyway, so you just have to, really be willing to let them know what the boundaries are. If you see it, because sometimes LC doesn't even see it. And I have to say, oh, you didn't even see, when so that was out of order. And he's, oh, I didn't even notice it. So most times I know he doesn't even pay attention, but I notice it. And, I will, like I said, because of our agreement, I usually won't say anything unless and he's not going to ask me to say anything. But that's how I handle it.
Yeah. My boundary is got to have my own boundary set. There's nothing I have to prove or nothing, I think, like she says, I don't she says sometimes that women will say this, flirting with me, something, I don't even pay no attention, because I have zero interest. I have my own boundaries, I'm good where I'm at. And thanks to be to God, I got to that point. And I'm just, I don't, there's nothing that's, not like you're just a dead person, but, I'm just, I'm thankful. God has blessed me. So I feel about God, you have to have it. You don't only go to building. When you study that word, you got to apply it to your everyday life, and I thank God. And so in order for me, God's a protection for me, I won't do him wrong. So that cuts off everything else. That's the first person I worry about doing wrong is God. And so if I don't do him wrong, I'm good. Everything else will be right in place. That's why I probably don't pay all that, whatever she said going on, no attention.
Amen. I can honestly say that, as women, we can see things and sense things. And so, Sister Ramsey, you are protecting your husband in some ways when some stuff that he doesn't see, and I hear you saying that as a deacon, sometimes there's some folks, women, who have some other things. So how do you handle being a deacon's wife with the strange things that people may do or whatever. How do you handle it as a deacon's wife?
Probably I give him the latitude of doing whatever he needs to do. You know, I'm not a jealous person anyway. And so, you know, I just think giving him the latitude to do whatever, handle whatever he needs to do right. You know, he has to figure out, okay, if he needs me to come to Susie Smith's house, who keeps calling him, you know, uh, or somebody to pick him up from the hospital. This sister used to do this, and then ask him to take her to breakfast.
She did, and see, I think I can help her on that because I don't put myself in those positions. You know, a lot of time, and you know, now even we guys, we can know some women that's the way they are. You know, we know don't be caught with them alone. Don't put yourself in a certain position with them. Don't do this, don't do that, because you know we understand. You know what's going on. So you know, like she says, you know, if I gotta go to someone's house and go this that kind of place, I'll tell her to come go with me. So we go together.
That going together part is very important.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So you all talked a little bit about the role that God has in your marriage. Is there any else that you want to say about that? The role that God has in your marriage?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. You know, if you have God in your life and you love Him enough to not to do Him wrong, everything else is a done deal. That's her protection. Is the love that I have for God. Because if I'm not going to do God wrong, that means I'm not going to be doing her wrong.
And God has to be the center of everything. You know, decisions that you make, you know, and it's important that you know you study the Bible together, you pray together, you make God the center of your life, and you know make sure that He's not left out in anything that you're doing or anything that you say.
It doesn't mean that you're perfect, you know, because I say, you know, not to do God wrong. But you know, that's what we do a lot of times. We study His Word, go to the building. I want to say go to the building every Sunday and Wednesday night for Bible class and for Sunday service. But then we study what to do all this. We hearers, but not doers. If you be doers, that'll help you. That take and apply to your everyday life.
Amen. Amen. That's good right there. God first in all things. So, yes. So looking back, how would you coach your single self if you was desiring godly marriage? Looking back on when you were single, what would you coach yourself about? Back to your single self, back in 1977, and you were single. And how would you coach yourself now? Well,
if I was a Christian or just
yes.
now?
Yes, sir. Yes, in any coaching that you have, Christian or non-Christian.
I would have made, but my relationship with Christ I would have had a relationship with Christ, and it probably would have strengthened me in our relationship. I know it would have strengthened me in my relationship, but I think I needed, you know, in our early years of dating, and even before we started dating, you know, I would have had an expectation you know, because you have expectation that you want a man who has a relationship with Christ. Back then, it wasn't important to me that I have that. Now I look back at it, he needs to have a relationship with Christ. I'm not saying he would have to be a member of the church, because I think that eventually after our relationship blossomed, you could, studying and teaching, he would, I think eventually he would get there, because I think that's what's lacking a lot of times. But he would at least have to have some kind of relationship with God, with Christ. And back then it didn't matter.
Yeah, it really didn't back then, but hindsight, I would have loved, I believe if I had Christ in my life at that time, it would have resolved a lot of the issues and the problem and situation that we had and we went through, There's always hindsight, you can always do some stuff different, but there's always some regrets, but I kind of appreciate where we at, and I think some of the issues, some of the stuff that we went through makes us who we are today and mold us into who we are and what we have today. But I would have loved to have known Christ at an earlier age. Yes.
But I think God was in the works. God planned, and I tell Elsie this, God had plans for us. And that's why he made sure that we stayed together, because, and I think especially where we are now, there's a reason God has us in Mississippi. I don't know what it is. And I'm not saying I'm loving it here, because I don't, but there's a reason God has brought us here. And, because I know he's behind the reason us being here, makes it tolerable for me.
Amen. Amen. So the last question, you all have been so gracious with just dropping this wisdom. The last question is, what advice do you have for singles who desire a godly marriage?
One thing you should always remember, sometimes a lady will look at a guy and he comes to the building. I hate to say the church because we're the church, but when he comes to the building, I'm gonna say church, we'll just keep it real. When he comes to church, he's a godly man. It's not always that way. It's not always true. He comes there to the building, and we have to realize the church is a hospital. It's where a lot of sick, we all come there because we all got some issues and some problems. So you're not going to get a full package from a man going to the church either. He have his issues too. That's why he's there at the church. He's seeking a better way in his life for his life, because he's had some struggles with himself. And he's trying to better himself. That's why he's there at the church. So don't think you're going to meet the perfect man in the church. You're not. You're going to have some work. There got to be sacrifice, and they're going to have to be the same. It's going to be, they have issues too. Because I don't think there's a perfect man. Matter of fact, I know it's not.
And I can add to that is to be patient, talk to God, let God direct you. If don't, and quit looking for a man. While you're single, this is one of the things I would do different. While I'm single, I need, and I tell my girls this all the time, work on yourself. work on your relationship with Christ and work on yourself. So when and if you do, because if Christ has a plan for you, if Christ has a plan for you to be with, to find somebody and get married, it will happen. So quit looking, work on yourself, and then once you find somebody, don't be so quick to walk away if things aren't going 110% your way. There's got to be some concessions sometimes. You got to figure out what you can live with and what you can't, because what you start out doing is the expectation of what you're going to continue to do. So, make sure he has a relationship with Christ. Make sure that you don't walk away at the slightest in the problem. If it, sometimes you have to weigh it out. If it's a drug problem, yeah, you may want to walk away. If it's if it's a trust issue or he struggles communicating, work with them.
That's one thing I'd add on to that too is, this is a journey, and it doesn't always start out nice or the way you want to start out. And don't upstake it. Don't, like she said, I do that 110%. Do not pull away just because something go wrong and didn't go your way. You got mad. Don't do it. And that's what I think a lot of our children and our grandkids are doing. Something happen to want to, don't go wrong. They go on tomorrow, they gone. You got to stand in there, because there's some storms. It's just like your everyday life you go through alone. It's going to be the same thing going to be happening with your marriage or relationship. There's not a perfect, we don't live in a perfect world. So we're not perfect people. We're not going to find a perfect relationship. There's work to be done. There's ups and downs, hills and curves.
Oh, that is good. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much. Are there any other final words that you want to leave with us? Words of advice?
Trust in the Lord.
And make sure that keep the relationship with Christ at its best, and take everything to him for if you have a question, because he's not going to direct you wrong. And quit looking. Somebody's, keep your eyes open, but don't say, oh, I'm looking for a husband. Don't make that a priority, and every guy that comes along, look at him as husband material. No, get to know him first.
You all, thank you so much, Brother and Sister Ramsey, for sharing your love with us, and for just giving us this advice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.